Hi, everybody. So today I wanted to talk about one of the things that nobody I feel talks about when they talk about becoming vegetarian, or like things that you may experience when you become vegetarian and start to tell people in your life. And so, um, my kind of backstory is I had been eating primarily plant-based for a long time leading into becoming officially vegetarian. And so I had already basically established a really full repertoire of like plant-based recipes that I enjoyed, like restaurants that I knew I could easily find something to eat on the menu. Like I just basically did all of that. Like I didn't go from like eating meals that were meat-based at every single meal time to cutting it out completely. I definitely had been on this train for a while and had established, like I said, this like repertoire of recipes. And so I knew going into it that I was ready, that I wasn't going to get bored and that there wasn't like five things that I could eat basically. But one of the things that kind of shocked me, especially in this day and age and how not new or novel of an idea of vegetarianism or veganism or other kinds of dietary restrictions or whatever, considering how widespread that is, I was very surprised how ununderstanding people were when I had told them that I was becoming a vegetarian or that I had become a vegetarian. And then it also just basically led me to not ever say it to people because of the experience with the first couple of people who I told. And so I don't know if this is like a gender thing, but the majority of the people who I told were male, and their immediate first reaction was like, "Oh, are you going to be getting enough protein?" and all of that, like very traditional concern that I feel like people raise as like their number one argument for continuing to eat meat and include meat in their diets. And I don't know, I just thought like you wouldn't have been concerned about the like any of my intake of any kind of protein or otherwise if I was not saying this right now, if I wasn't going vegetarian or if that wasn't the topic. And I just found that really interesting. But um, just the overall like kind of unacceptance. And so what I ended up doing after, I think that happened to me with two people, and after two people I learned my lesson. I actually then did tell somebody else verbally, and they were really accepting. And I told them that, like, oh, I really appreciate you being very understanding and accepting, because the last couple people who I shared this with weren't really so. And it didn't matter. I had already made my decision. I wasn't like seeking validation or um, like wanting to try to be helped to convince me either way, like to do it or not do it. I had just actually shared it with these people in the nature of like a catching up conversation, like, oh, what's new in your life? Oh, well, like I actually stopped eating meat. And um, so then when I did finally actually tell this third person, I was very pleasantly surprised. I knew that they were an okay person to tell, but I was appreciative that they were understanding. And I remember thanking them and sharing with them that, like, I had hesitancy to really tell anybody again because of the way it went with the first couple of people. And then I actually just stopped telling people because it wasn't worth it. And it was just easier to order the vegetarian thing. Like when I had gone on vacation with my family, I hadn't said anything and I just ordered my tomato flatbread and my fish dishes. Like I just ordered the way that I would order as a vegetarian without like explicitly calling attention to it. And I think that that really helped because it just kept the topic off the table, because nobody's suspicious if you order something vegetarian one time. Nobody thinks like, oh, are they on the vegetarian side now? Nobody thinks that. So that's kind of one of the things that I would say like nobody prepares you for. And then if you are experiencing that as like a new vegetarian or like a new vegan or something, that like when you're telling people, they're being concerned, but it's not like a place of genuine concern. It's more from like a patriarchy type of concern. I would just say, just don't tell people. Like, tell the people who you know, like this third person who I told, tell the people who you know are going to be able to be supportive, and then otherwise, like, be able to look really critically at the people who you're thinking about telling and be like, you know what, I don't know that that person's gonna react the way that I want. And you don't need to tell anybody. You can just do what I do, which is I just order the vegetarian dish that I want, and I don't call any attention to it. Um, I will usually like want to know if I'm like where we're going to eat because I am a menu browser, but I was a menu browser actually even when I was a meat eater. I was always wanting to just like look at the menus before I ate somewhere. So that really isn't anything new, but I've definitely become more like diligent about doing that up front because I just want to make sure that there's always going to be something that I can eat. And so yeah, that would be my advice to people is like be really critical about who you choose to share it with. Because there may be like these concern, they're not really concerns, but they're masked as concerns. But yeah, I just think that you don't need any of that external chatter when you've decided to do this because it is like a big step. Um, and it's a lifestyle change. And if you feel good about it, you should just run with it. There's no point in telling people who aren't going to be supportive. Like just order your vegetarian food and enjoy and enjoy your choice like with confidence. And so I don't know, what else do you guys think nobody talks about when talking about the decision to become vegetarian or the choice to become vegetarian, and how have you been either accepted or not accepted in your circle when you decided to become vegetarian, I would say. So thanks for watching. I'm so glad you guys are here. I love doing these chit chat type of videos. And like I said in the last one, I'm looking forward to making this more of a regular routine and just being able to hang out. So I appreciate you taking time to hang out here because there's a lot of places you can hang out, but this is a pretty good one. So see you next time.